as part of an attempt to persuade the United States and the rest of the international community that the Palestinians are seeking to create a democratic state based on the rule of law and human dignity. The Palestinian Authority leadership last week published a draft of the Palestinians' temporary constitution. The 162-article draft constitution, however, shows that if and when the Palestinians have a state of their own, it would actually not be different from the two mini-states they have had for the past 2 decades, the Hamas regime in the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian Authority, PA, in the West Bank. Both Palestinian regimes have miserably failed their people, mainly by depriving them of international aid, democracy, opportunity, free elections, and freedom of speech. Notably, the new constitution repeats and reaffirms the long-standing and familiar positions and policies of the PA and Hamas, especially towards Israel and Jews. These include the right of return for Palestinian refugees and their descendants to their former, mostly no longer existent homes inside Israel, the continuation of stipends paid to Palestinian terrorists, a program also known as Pay for Slay, and the perpetual denial of the Jews' far-reaching history and religious roots in Jerusalem. Article 12 of the Constitution endorses the right of return, which means flooding Israel with millions of Palestinians so that Jews would become a minority in their own country and Israel would cease to exist as a Jewish state. The State of Palestine works toward the unity of the land and the people in the homeland and the diaspora and is committed to achieving independence and ending the occupation and ensuring the right of return for refugees according to international legitimacy resolutions. The new constitution is actually saying that the Palestinians want their own state, but they also want to move millions of their own people to the sovereign territory of the neighboring state. The message is still, "My marbles are mine and your marbles are mine." Article 3, titled Jerusalem, Religious Nature, Historical Identity, states that the city is the eternal capital of the state, and that religions and their sanctities are protected there. Jerusalem is the capital of the state of Palestine, and its political, spiritual, cultural, and educational center, as well as its national symbol. The Palestinian state is committed to preserving its religious character and protecting its Islamic and Christian sanctities, as well as its legal, political, and historical status. Notice something missing? The Palestinian Constitution ferociously ignores Judaism and its link to Jerusalem. In the eyes of the Palestinians, only Islam and Christianity have sanctities in Jerusalem. This should not surprise those familiar with what the Palestinians have been falsely claiming for many years, that the Western Wall, a retaining wall, all that is left of the Second Temple that was destroyed by the Roman Empire in 70 CE, is not sacred to Jews because it is just another wall of the adjacent Al-Aqsa Mosque, built in 1035 CE. By omitting Jewish ties to Jerusalem, the Palestinians are saying that there will be no Jews in a future Palestinian state. This slammed door should be no surprise to anyone. Hundreds of thousands of Jews who used to live in Arab countries, including Iraq, Syria, Egypt, and Libya, were long ago subjected to ethnic cleansing and expulsion to avenge the creation of Israel. It is worth noting that while the Palestinians do not recognize Jewish ties to the land and want a Jew-free state, there are more than 2 million Muslim Arabs living peacefully and safely inside Israel as full citizens with equal rights. Moreover, the new constitution designates the official religion of a Palestinian state as Islam, with Sharia law to be the primary source for legislation, while also protecting Christianity as having a special status. Still no mention of Judaism or protecting the rights of its followers. For the Palestinians, the Jews simply do not exist. Another disturbing piece of information from the Palestinians' constitution, the Pay for Slay program, which rewards Palestinian terrorists and their families in accordance with the number of Jews they murdered and the time spent in Israeli prisons, will continue. This stipulation means that the livelihood of any Palestinian who murders or wounds a Jew will be protected by the Palestinian Constitution, which will guarantee him or her and the family stipends as high as $3,000 a month, in a region where the average salary is about $1,000 a month. Here is what Article 24, titled Families of Martyrs, Victims of Genocide. The State of Palestine and the relevant national institutions work to provide protection and care for the families of martyrs and the wounded and prisoners and those released from the occupation prisons, and the victims of genocide, and to pursue the perpetrators of these crimes before the judiciary. Article 44, titled Martyrs, Wounded, Prisoners, states, "The law organizes the provision of comprehensive care for the families of martyrs, the wounded, and prisoners, and those released, in preservation of their national dignity and their humanitarian and living needs." First, this is contrary to claims that the Palestinian leadership had decided to end its pay-for-slay program. The program was never canceled. The only change was how the payments are recorded in the Palestinian Authority budget. Instead of listing the recipients as prisoners or martyrs, they have relabeled the terrorists, including those from Hamas, as civil servants, security force personnel, and pensioners, so that they continue to benefit from the pay-for-slay funding as a legal right, soon to be called a constitutional right. Finally, another piece of information for the pro-Palestinian and LGBTQ+ community worldwide. In a future Palestinian state, according to the draft constitution, members of the LGBTQ+ community have no rights. Article 59 states that marriage is solely between a man and a woman. This section means that in a state of Palestine, members of this community will continue to be thrown from rooftops, beaten, and expelled from their towns and villages. The new Palestinian constitution shows why the idea of creating another Islamist country at Israel's doorstep is both dangerous and delusional. This constitution demonstrates that the Palestinians still have not come to terms with Israel's right to exist, still have not abandoned their dream of destroying Israel, and are still as committed as ever to encouraging terrorists to murder more Jews.